Hello and welcome. This is my cupcake video in which I show you how to make these delicious cupcakes. The recipe will guide you through the making process, but also this video as well. So I hope you have some fun cooking at home and I hope you enjoy eating these delicious cupcakes. There is a recipe that goes along with this video, so please refer to that for cooking times and quantities. So, first thing you'll need, folks, is you will need some flour. So I've weighed out the flour into a nice big bowl here, and I've also weighed out the sugar as well. So the sugar is going to go into the flour, there it goes, and then I will use my whisk and I'll just whisk the two together. I could use a wooden spoon for this as well, but I find the whisk does a good job at mixing it. There we go, it's pretty much done already. Lovely. The next thing I like to put in is the poppy seeds. So in the poppy seeds go. There we are. I'll mix that in a moment. And then next I have my lemons. So I have one of these, which is sort of a little scrapey machine like this. And as I pull it along, I don't know if you can see, but it pulls off a few pieces of lemon like that. So what I will do is go around and scrape some zest into the mixture. And I'll do that for all of my lemons so that I have a nice amount of zest in there. The other thing you could use, if you don't have one of those, is one of these. So you could use the smaller side here, or you could use these little pieces here. Do be careful if you're doing this, watch out for your knuckles and your fingers, so just rub it up and down like that, but do watch your fingers on there, can be quite sharp. So that is the first step: flour, sugar, poppy seeds, and the zest of your lemons. Okay, that's my dry ingredients all in the bowl. So I'm just going to bring that together with my trusty wooden spoon here, and then I will move on to the wet ingredients. So just put this to one side and find your eggs, your yogurt and those lemons. Okay, now it's time for the egg and the yogurt. So a couple of taps on the side to just crack the egg there. Take your two thumbs, push it into the egg and pull it apart like that. Give it a little wiggle and you should find that your egg is nice and clean like that. Do that for all of your eggs, and then you need to add the yogurt and beat it together. Try and get as much air into it as possible. So I would definitely use a whisk for beating the two liquid ingredients together. So that's the next step. Okay then, so now we have whisked all our egg and our flour and dry ingredients. We need to bring it all together. So I'm pouring that in. Oh, that looks quite nice actually. It's lovely. There we go. So that has gone in. And I also need to add the butter as well. I'm just going to give this a little stir just to get things started. So just gently fold in the wet ingredients into the dry. That's all we're doing here. I'm being a little bit careful because my bowl is quite full. So if you have a bigger bowl at home, that's great. Or if you're using different quantities, that will help you as well. You can see those lovely poppy seeds in there now as well. There we go, just like a little figure of 8. You can go around and try and fold it in. Right, the only part that's missing is the butter. So this has had about 30 seconds in the microwave, and that's now going to go into our bowl. And I'm using a silicone spatula here because it's a good way of cleaning the bowl. Look at that, it's almost spotless. If you have one of these silicone spatulas, it's very useful for cleaning your butter out of there, anything that's sticky. I have now cut my lemon in half and I'm going to use this little juicer here. So the idea is you put your lemon on the top and just twist and press down like this, and you should end up with a nice, there we go, lovely, a little bit of juice there, and I'll just pour that into a jug. Now I'll continue to do that until I've got all of the juice out of my lemon, and then that is going to go into the mixture. So if I just bring this over, you can see what the mixture looks like. There we are, lovely. So here is our mixture. I will, once I've done the lemons, pour that in, give it a stir, and then it's ready to go into the cases. Okay, here's my mixture. You don't want to overwork this, otherwise it become a bit more like a batter. So do mix it and just make sure you've got rid of all the butter. So push it against the side of the bowl if you see any lumps, and that will smooth them out. And you should end up getting rid of any flour and fat like that. But don't try and overwork it, or you'll find it becomes a bit rubbery. Add in the lemon juice. There we go. You could do that bit by bit. That might make it a little bit easier. But if you're careful, you can put it all in at once. Mix that into your cake mixture, and then the next phase is to add this into the little cases. So I'll mix this in and I'll show you how to add the cases. Lots of ways to do this. I found the best is to use 2 large spoons and just push the mixture from one spoon to the other. So if you don't fancy making cupcakes, you can make a cake loaf or put it in a cake tin instead. So I'm now going to add my mixture. I want to fill it up sort of 3/4 of the way up, not too full, a little bit more I think, because it will expand in the oven. So do not fill your tin all the way up to the top. It needs a little bit more in there, I would say, but I don't want to go too far. That's about halfway. 3/4 is just right. The same for your cases as well. Don't go too far. The batter will almost double when it's in the oven, so you don't want it exploding and going everywhere. So pop it in a hot oven, keep an eye on it, and when they're golden brown and a knife comes out cleanly, they are cooked. I have the lemon juice in here, and I've also added some icing sugar as well. I'm going to add a little bit more because it's still quite watery, so I'm going to put a few more spoons. You'd be surprised how much icing sugar this actually needs. So this is going to make a little bit of a sauce that I want to get into the cakes that have just come out of the oven. There we go. That's starting to go now. It should go nice and gloopy like that. So you can mix that in, so it's like almost like a paste, but I don't want it to be too thick. So that's about right there. Now, I quite like it a little crystalline. In other words, I don't mix this completely. I leave some of the sugar lumps in there. And then when it cools, you'll find that there are some sort of chunks of sugar on there. It's a little bit crystally and crunchy, just gives it a nice bit of crunch. So I'm going to leave that. It's not completely mixed, but that's fine. Right, next up I have the lovely cakes. Look at that, they look delicious. Now they are still quite hot from the oven, and if you have a temperature probe you can probe them. You're looking for about 75 degrees. However, if you have a skewer like this or a knife, you can pop it in and you're looking for a nice clean skewer, so that's fine. Now this skewer is a little bit big, but I'm going to use it. What am I doing? Well, I'm making some holes, and the idea is that sauce I've just made is going to be put onto these, and I'm hoping that it will trickle into the holes. I would do this as soon as you get the cakes out of the oven. The reason for that is when they're nice and warm or hot, they will absorb all of that liquid very well. So I'm going to do that now and leave them then to cool. Okay guys, so I have just taken this one out of the oven. I'm going to do the same again, use my trusty skewer here, and you can pop quite a few holes into your cake. You're looking for a nice golden texture, just like this. If your oven's a little bit too high, you can end up burning the cake, so what I would recommend is keep the temperature low. I have a fan oven here, so 160 is plenty for me. It's better to take longer to cook it. Cook it over sort of half an hour, 25 minutes, maybe even 40 minutes if you need to, slowly, rather than trying to cook it quickly on a high temperature. You're just looking to gently bake it. It's not about speed with this lemon cake. So I've done exactly the same as the cupcakes there, and I'm just putting some of this juice with the lemon and the icing sugar onto the cake, and hopefully it's now drizzling down into those holes that I've just made, percolating its way down. Okay then, so I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I have actually bought some buttercream topping. So if you're a little bit pushed for time, you can use this. But in the recipe, in the instructions for this, it does explain how to make it. It's very easy. I'd recommend making it from scratch. It's literally just butter and icing, sugar, so it's not too complicated to make at all. Once you've made your buttercream, you can use some food colouring. So I have a couple of colours here. I've also got some bits and bobs to put on top. So I've got some little hundreds and thousands, things like that, to make it look really appealing. You can have some honeycomb as well. So I've got some honeycomb as well there. So what I'm going to do, I've got a piping bag here, so disposable piping bag. I'm going to now mix up some food colouring into some of the buttercream, and I'm going to try and do a double colour in here. So I put my nozzle in already, piping bag's ready to go. I folded it back. Okay, so I've got my piping bag here, and I'm just holding it, and the idea is that I'm going to use my fork, and I'll try and get this in like this, push it down to the end, and then just pull the fork against your thumb and finger there. So just pop it in and do that. Now you might find, if I switch to a knife, you might find that it's a little bit easier with a knife. So I'll just get my knife here, I'll bring that in. So just again, pulling it against your hands. Now what I'm trying to do is make one side pink and one side vanilla, so we'll see how that goes. There we go. So now what I'll do is I'll take my vanilla and I'll turn the bag in my hands, and I'll do exactly the same but from the other side, and hopefully we'll be able to get some vanilla down the other side there.